And then they treated his family in the most incredibly callous way possible. So we went to Tottenham police station. I led that demo that day. And then they treated us callously at that police station. And what they wanted to happen, happened. Tottenham burned and the rest of England followed suit. The politicians who was on holiday, that would be Cameron in those days, remember him gone now. And Boris Johnson, Mayor of London, refused to come back. And when they did get forced back from their holidays, they blamed the gangs for the riots. Because they didn't want to talk about the social and economic problems that they're creating, that their austerity policies are creating. The social economic policies that they're driven through this country that left communities desolated, isolated and marginalised. They didn't want to talk about the fact that they'd cut the education maintenance allowance that allowed and encouraged poor kids to hang on into education. So to not talk about that, they created the bogeyman of the gangster. We had enough reviews that the government paid for. Even the police conducted a review called 4 Days in August, in which they blamed me for the riots. They didn't blame gangsters. But that didn't stop Boris Johnson and Cameron from carrying on with what they were doing. They wrote to every borough in the country and said, tell us about your gangster problem. And when the boroughs wrote back and said, we have no gangster problem, the Home Office wrote to them and said, and remember, this is exactly the same time, under exactly the same leadership and stewardship that created the hostile environment for the Windrush generation. These same people was writing to town halls saying, you don't understand what your gang's problem is. So we are going to send you gangs workers who are going to help you to identify your gangsters. And then when you've identified your gangsters, we're going to give you money to deal with your gangsters. Now hear what I just said. The government said to these cash-strapped local authorities in a time of austerity, if you identify the little Negroes for us, we will give you extra money. If you help us to target little black boys, powerless to stop you, powerless to stand up to you, if you help us to target them, we will give you extra money. And those councils help them to target little black boys. And let me tell you this, and where's those cameras? The worst councils for targeting little black boys are Labour authorities. Let me tell you again, the worst councils for targeting black boys are Labour authorities, like Lambeth, like Lewisham, like my own council, Haringey and Hackney. Because black boys have no value unless we create them into mobsters, gangsters and people that are feared by the system. And then they create a database called the Matrix. Now come on. The Matrix. They're telling us something. The Matrix contains the names of 3,000 of London's most violent gangsters. 2,800 of them happen to be black. In Haringey, I managed to get the Haringey gang matrix. Anybody who knows Haringey knows the biggest gang in Haringey, first of all, is the police, and then is the Turkish Tottenham boys. But on the Haringey gang matrix, 99 kids happen to be black. 99 out of 100 happen to be black. It's racial profiling taken to this most extreme degree. You can be on this database if you stab man, and you can be on this database if man stab you. If you're a perp and if you're a victim, you can be on the same database. How is that possible? It's because you're black. You can be on the database because your friend is a bad man. You go to school in London, you grow up in the estate of London, of course your friend is going to be a bad man. Of course you're going to have friends who are dodgy. Of course you're going to have friends who are risky. But to end up on a list, and that list is shared with the system, And when the system sees your name, and by the system, I mean the council, the job centre, the housing association, more recently, the DVLA. These young boys are not even allowed to have a driver's license and drive the streets of London without the police persecuting them. And it's that persecution that comes from the police, the persecution that comes from the rest of the state, that drives these young people almost insane, that traumatizes them, that bullies them, that cripples them, that makes them emotionally immature, and makes them want to find other people to take their aggression out on. And that's what fueling the violence in our communities. It's the system. It's that in this system we have, and this is black people, black communities, we have no allies. We have no partners. There is no safeguard. There is no letting us steam. There is nothing here. There is only us. There is no justice. There's just us.